Yeah, so Blake Lively is apparently, allegedly regretting her legal war against Justin Baldoni. Yeah, are we too connected? Are we too vibing? That's how she described working with Justin Baldoni.
Blake Lively is full-on losing her mind, y'all. After the judge pulled out yet another brutal piece of evidence that completely wrecked her case, Blake couldn't keep it together anymore. Once upon a time, she was busy fangirling over Justin Baldoni like a love-struck teen. But the moment Justin, being the decent man he is, politely shut her down, Blake switched up real quick. She didn't just sulk. Sis went full toddler tantrum mode, swearing revenge like this was some kind of soap opera.
Blake, no receipts Lively, has no receipts.
At the start of 2025, Blake was strutting around thinking this was going to be her strong, independent woman shutting down my evil ex-boss era. Plot twist, it's now her somebody please hide my public recordings before I implode era, because Chile, Blake, in front of an entire room full of people and cameras, decided it was a good idea to describe her working relationship with Baldoni as being too connected and too vibing. Those were her exact words. Girl, what were you even thinking?
Yeah, are we too connected? Are we too vibing? That's how she described working with Justin Baldoni in June 2024.
Apparently, the English language packed its bags and left that day because, Too vibing doesn't exactly scream, I feel harassed. If you truly feel unsafe, you're not out here vibing with your alleged harasser, Blake, unless maybe you live in some alternate Hollywood fantasy land, which judging by this meltdown, Blake definitely does. And speaking of fantasy land, let's talk about America Ferrera. You know, the friend who was supposedly ready to ride or die for Blake during this mess? Yeah, about that.
I reported on America Ferrera that she had removed a post from her Instagram grid, the one where she was supporting Blake Lively.
America Ferrera publicly posted her support for Blake, then yanked that post down faster than a bad Tinder date. It was giving I don't want this smoke energy real loud. Honestly, America looked more spineless than a plate of overcooked spaghetti.
It is back. So I don't know what that says about America Ferrera, if she's now supporting Blake again, if it was a mistake. So I don't know what happened there, if America Ferrera got cold feet and thought, oh, Blake is gonna come after me, so I better put that post back up.
And the worst part? She didn't even bother posting anything else afterward. Like, sis, if you're gonna fake support, at least pretend you care with a cute follow-up or something. But no, America dipped like someone realizing they'd been tricked into boarding the Titanic right after spotting the iceberg.
I don't know. I just find it kind of spineless when you support someone publicly and then you remove the support because you get a lot of backlash from it, and then you kind of sneak it back in again. I don't know.
And as if this messy circus wasn't cursed enough, guess who decided to pop up out of the shadows? Harvey freaking Weinstein. Yeah, because when you're trying to salvage your reputation, obviously the guy you want coming to your defense is a convicted serial predator. Chef's kiss, Blake.
Harvey Weinstein came out and said that and showed support for Baldoni, saying that, you know, you and me, we were treated the same way by New York Times. It's like, no. You weren't. Harvey Weinstein was accused by, I think, like 50 to 100 women. It was so many women, and it was so serious, like really horrific.
In a move so tone-deaf it broke the sound barrier, Harvey compared his experience with the New York Times to Justin Baldoni's. Like, imagine waking up, opening your phone, and seeing that Harvey Weinstein thinks you're a victim just like him. If Harvey thinks you're the good guy, sis, it's already over.
Harvey Weinstein was accused by, I think, like 50 to 100 women. It was so many women, and it was so serious, like really horrific incidents that he was accused of, and he ended up in jail for it. Now he's saying that he was treated the same way by New York Times that Justin Baldoni was. I just think this is so bad.
And the court documents? Baby, they didn't save Blake's dignity either. They ripped her claims apart and left them on the curb for the pigeons to peck at. Turns out not only was her so-called evidence a whole lot of nothing, but the recording Blake forgot even existed made it even worse. It's like showing up to a gunfight armed with a sword made of Play-Doh.
With Blake Lively, Brendan Sklenar, and Colleen Hoover when they had a screening. This was in June 14th, so last summer. when they were showing It Ends With Us, a cut that wasn't even ready and that Sony hadn't greenlit or anything like that.
Let's not forget June 14th, 2024. At the It Ends With Us event, Blake wasn't sobbing or shaking. She was glowing as she gushed over Justin Baldoni. She wasn't just vibing, she was practically floating. Sis was smiling so hard, you'd think she was auditioning for a Hallmark Christmas movie.
But then she said something really interesting.
She's conflicted. And so that was always an interesting dynamic when you have somebody who's playing the character also being the one like looking at the movie. So we were always like, are we too connected? Are we too vibing?
Yeah, are we too connected? Are we too vibing?
There wasn't a shred of fear, discomfort, or awkwardness on that stage. Just Blake Lively broadcasting to the world how much fun she was having with Justin. If your public footage looks like a rom-com trailer and not a harassment victim testimony, maybe, just maybe, rethink your lawsuit strategy.
Was Blake Lively talking about Justin Baldoni? She didn't mention him by name, but what she said does not sound like someone who's been harassed by someone.
And poor America Ferrera. First, she tries to erase her support once the backlash hits. Then she sneakily reposts it without even an explanation. Then, crickets, silent as a graveyard. It's like somebody pulled her aside and said, "Girl, jump ship now or drown later." And she said, "Bet."
I don't know. She hasn't posted anything else on her Instagram since last time she had removed it. So it's not like it's been pushed in any direction, like a technical glitch, or I don't know how that could have happened.
And you know the internet clocked America's fake loyalty stunt immediately. Even Blake's A-list friends didn't want to touch this mess with a 10-foot pole. Blake, meanwhile, acted like nobody would notice. Baby, this is the internet. You couldn't hide a cold here, let alone a full-blown PR disaster. Blake Lively's meltdown wasn't just sad, it was historic. First she fangirls Baldoni on stage, then 6 months later she's crying harassment, then America Ferrera tries to ghost her harder than a bad Tinder date, and then Harvey Weinstein shows up like some cursed Easter bunny handing out radioactive eggs. If Blake was trying to guarantee that nobody on earth would ever take her seriously again, she's doing a phenomenal job. Now, here's the extra messy part. If Justin Baldoni somehow wins his lawsuit against the New York Times, big IF, but still, Harvey Weinstein's ancient mess could get dragged back into the spotlight too. Talk about cursed karma, and even after all this disaster raining down around her, Blake still thought storming into court with her sad little folder of evidence was gonna save her like some last-minute plot twist in a bad Netflix drama. Sis, no, this ain't Hollywood, this is real life, and it's eating you alive. Meanwhile, Harvey Weinstein wasn't done humiliating her. Harvey actually issued a statement, because apparently the man has no shame left to lose. He said watching Justin Baldoni fight the New York Times hit him hard, because he too allegedly got done dirty by the media. Boy, please. Harvey Weinstein inserting himself into Blake's PR nightmare was like inviting a roach to a 5-star restaurant. Nobody wanted it, nobody asked for it, but there he was, buzzing around, making everything infinitely worse. Weinstein whined that the Times cherry-picked facts to ruin him, just like they supposedly were doing to Baldoni. He even had the nerve to say, "I should have had the courage to fight back in 2017, like he was some misunderstood Disney princess or something." Harvey, sit down. Nobody on this planet was waiting for Harvey Weinstein's redemption arc. If anything, him standing next to Blake metaphorically in court was the final nail in her already half-buried career coffin. And honestly, it was almost funny. Because if Harvey Weinstein thinks you're the victim, you've lost the court case, the court of public opinion, and probably your career all in one shot. But Blake's circus wasn't done spinning yet. Over on the other side of town, Ryan Reynolds was desperately trying to play his part in the Please Feel Sorry for Us tour. Ryan was photographed at JFK Airport looking tense and stricken, like a man walking through a staged photo shoot hoping the world would just magically forgive and forget. Nice try, Ryan. You could literally smell the PR stunt from the photos. Then Blake jumped into the sad parade too. She suddenly started flooding the media with paparazzi shots of herself looking like she was about to burst into tears on a Tuesday afternoon. Experts, like actual PR strategists, immediately called it out for what it was: grief cosplay. Not grief, not genuine emotion, just cosplay, like Comic-Con, but way more embarrassing. They weren't even trying to hide it. Blake looked like she was rehearsing for Les Miserables, sad cardigans, messy hair, misty eyes, while random strangers literally laughed in the background of her stage sadness shots. baby, if the public is giggling behind you while you're trying to look heartbroken, the jig is up. But Blake wasn't done digging her own grave yet. In her desperation, she accused Jed Wallace, a random PR expert, of masterminding some giant social media takedown plot against her. Sis pulled out the old "it's a conspiracy" card because when you've run out of facts, Hollywood imagination is the next best thing, apparently. The problem? There was zero proof. Not an email, not a text, not even a poorly photoshopped meme. Nothing. Wallace's court filings torched her fantasy faster than a bad Marvel sequel. He swore under penalty of perjury that he never posted, liked, shared, boosted, or sneezed on anything related to Blake Lively online. And the timelines? Wrecked her. Online hate toward Blake started in July 2024. Wallace wasn't even hired until August 2024, meaning sis was already public enemy #1 before Wallace even got involved. So basically, Blake tried to accuse a PR guy of setting fire to a building that had already burned down a month before he even arrived at the scene. Hilarious. And Blake's team, bless their delusional hearts, filed a 141-page complaint against Wallace. 141 pages, full of nothing but hot air, dramatic whining, and a sprinkle of fairy dust. No actual evidence, not one legitimate accusation that could hold water in a real courtroom. It was so embarrassing that future law students might end up studying Blake's lawsuit as the textbook definition of what not to do when you file a lawsuit.
They are going on the record stating that Jed Wallace and his company didn't direct or ask anyone to post anything about the same.
And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, new evidence dropped. Footage emerged of Blake herself standing proudly in front of a room full of people, giggling and fangirling over working with Justin Baldoni. Yep, the same man she was accusing of making her life miserable. Awkward doesn't even begin to cover it.
That doesn't sound like a person that has harassed her, that she's describing. Like, really?
The judge didn't even have to say much. He just sat there, side-eyeing Blake like, is this real life? Because when your first piece of evidence is yourself looking happier than a kid at Disneyland, you're not just losing the case, you're starring in your own public roast. And then Jed Wallace came through again, dropping receipts like it was Black Friday. He proved that he actually recommended doing nothing, because Baldoni was already naturally getting public support. No evil PR war, no secret social media battles. Just Reddit users dunking on Blake for free.
Because what did he do? What did he do?
Blake didn't get sabotaged. She got clowned online, organically, and honestly, that's somehow even funnier.
They didn't publish, directly or indirectly, any information or content, negative or otherwise, regarding Lively.
At this point, between the fake sad photos, Harvey Weinstein's cursed endorsement, America Ferrera's disappearing loyalty, and random teenagers roasting her online, Blake's reputation didn't just crack. It disintegrated into dust. And we're still not done because, baby, Blake wasn't content with just one disaster. She gave us the grand finale.
Ironic, given the fact that the Nepo baby fought so hard for an extra protective order in New York and that case because she was worried about her health information leaking.
Nobody forced Blake to fangirl Baldoni on camera. Nobody made her accuse Jed Wallace with zero evidence. Nobody told her to parade around New York City looking sad for the cameras. Every bad move, every desperate PR stunt, every humiliating meltdown, Blake did that all by herself. This wasn't sabotage. It was self-sabotage with sprinkles on top. Blake's lawyers probably aged 20 years trying to explain to her that you can't just walk into court waving around vibes and Instagram screenshots. And the public? They didn't just turn against her. They laughed her off the stage and kept scrolling. Now Blake's stumbling into March 2025 with nothing but a court date, a shredded reputation, and a bunch of celebrity friends pretending not to know her name. This trial, it's not gonna be a Hollywood redemption arc. It's gonna be a slow, painful train wreck with everyone watching and no one looking away. Because sometimes the villain isn't the media, it's not the PR companies, it's not even your enemies. Sometimes the villain is just Blake Lively. And honey, this train wreck is just getting started.